Okay, please stand for the flag salute. Mr. Z.
Please place your hand over your heart and ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Report of closed session. No action was taken. Public comments. At this point in our agenda, we invite the public to address the board. Please limit remarks to 3 minutes or less. Comments will be timed. I remind the audience that this is a public session of the board and not a meeting of the public. Although the board will not respond to speakers directly, either during public comment or after the meeting, staff members may contact or follow up with written communication. If multiple speakers address the same subject, I may request that subsequent speakers only add new information. The time limit for a given topic is 20 minutes regardless of the number of speakers. If a speaker wishes to be heard on more than 3 topics, the speaker will be allowed up to a total of 10 minutes to address all desired items. Persons who have complaints against employees of the district are encouraged to seek resolution of those complaints by utilizing the district's written complaint procedure rather than orally addressing them at a meeting. Please refrain from applauding after each speaker. Public comment is now open. Peter Atwood.
Okay, where do I go?
Right here, sir.
Well, I wanted to say a few words about an expulsion. You guys approved it on January 21st. Seems likely you never actually looked at it. The district had accused the kid of hitting a bus driver a couple of times. And the district, confronted with the district's bus video, had to concede that in fact it never happened. But the panel on December 4th and this board on January 21st went ahead and based on that lie, approved the expulsion anyway. So anyway, we are of course appealing to the county board. One element in here that I hadn't really considered is that the district, the bus driver especially, was quite aware that the kid didn't want to get off at that bus stop because she'd been sexually molested and in fact struck up at that bus stop when she got off before, and that's why she wasn't about to do so this time. So the district, among other things, violated Title IX by punishing her, by expelling her for freaking out and jumping off the bus because she didn't want to be sexually molested again. So I guess, since you're speaking of governance today, I suggest that you be a little more diligent about paying attention to things like this instead of just rubber stamping whatever you get from the district. You've done a lot of damage to this family already, very unjustly, and I think that should bother you.
Thank you. Alrighty, so presentation to the board, Dr. Lin.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening. It's my pleasure to welcome once again Charity back from CSBA. Charity's been with us once before, and to kick off with a very robust discussion with the board and end with a draft version of the work that we're going to begin to work on today, which you should have a copy of in front of you. And so without any further ado, Charity, welcome back and appreciate your leadership in these students.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. I'm glad to be back. Nice to see you all again. So yeah, this is a draft of the governance handbook that we created at our last meeting, and we're going to go over that. But before we get started with that, I wanted to have kind of a check-in about some of the successes or challenges that have happened since our last meeting. Is there anything that anyone can add to the conversation about maybe some of the successes that you've had as a board since our workshop about governance, about the team, about did you think was valuable talking about our protocols and norms, and has that brought you together as a team, or have there been challenges that maybe we need to address by other protocols? Is there anything that comes to mind? Okay, well, let's just dive into our other conversation. So the first conversation we're going to have is about trustee areas. So if in your governance handbook draft, if we go to page 3, we're going to talk about our trustee areas. So at the very top of page 3, I'm going to read this real quick. It's just an explanation about trustee areas. The board understands that even though its members are voted into office by trustee areas, they represent and serve the entire district community. Thus, board members shall strive to make decisions which they believe to be in the best interest of the district as a whole, rather than decisions which are beneficial only or primarily to the trustee area in which they were elected. So this is an issue in a lot of districts in California because a lot of us have just changed from at-large, serving at-large, to trustee areas. Do any of you have reflections on that? Like, has it, how do you feel about that? Like, so here's a scenario. If one of your other board members were invited into your trustee area, what does that look like? Do they let you know that they're going to a function in your trustee area, or what does that look like?
I think, I'm sorry.
No, I
Go
just,
ahead.
usually when we get invited, well, when I get invited,
Yes.
it's given to all of us, so we all have the opportunity to respond, and I don't think any of us, you know, we're glad that we can go together, but, you know, sometimes we can't because of
Right.
prior engagements that they have going on, but I think that's a great idea, and I know we have to also educate the community too, because a lot of times they say, well, you should only stay for me in Eastville, and you should go here, but
Right.
And even the teachers too, sometimes they say, well, aren't you just Eastville? No, I'm not, I'm Corona and I'm Norfolk too, so.
Right.
I actually like when, you know, everybody will come to, say, some schools in my trustee area. You know, I like that, and I think we all try and go. I really, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think we do kind of look at it as, you know, a board member for the entire district.
Right.
I mean, I think when we get emails or phone calls, sometimes it's from it's
from your
constituents
trustee
in our
area.
area, but I think
Right.
we try and make sure that everybody is involved with each trustee area.
And really like having that vision for your trustee area, but having that district vision, right? And because you care about all the kids in the district. You're voted in your trustee area, but your responsibility is to the whole district. So that's been a problem in some districts where people feel like, oh, you know, I need to stand up for my area, but really is it good for the whole district, right? So I just wanted to have a little conversation about that because it's been coming up in a lot of districts. So is there any other reflections or comments?
I don't think it's an issue for us, really. I mean, we're always going to think maybe a smidge more about what we represent. That's human nature, but as overall, I think it works pretty well. I mean, last Saturday, we were at an event. Mary's our board president, and Phil's our VP, and Phil spoke. And I think we were in Lisa's area, come to think of it. So we don't stick to, yeah, it's fine. We do it as a group and understand that it's for the 53,000 students that we serve.
Right.
And sometimes we get invitations just from certain teachers because they're having an event and it could be in Eastvale or wherever, and so then we just share it, hey, I'm gonna be here, do you guys wanna go, who wants to go with me, or?
So it's a pretty casual practice.
Yeah.
There's, you don't feel like maybe there needs to be a protocol, or it's working pretty well.
I think the one,
Go ahead.
I think so. I think it's more the constituencies that are more conscious. They're called tell us, you cover my trustee area. You know, they're the one, they're the one, but not us, because we,
Right.
yeah.
I think the issue that we have, but I think we haven't worked out with Engineer Dr. Lynn, is like school site visits, for example.
Right.
Because really technically only 2 could be there. So we just have to communicate within ourselves that, okay, well, these 2 are going, and
Yeah.
so we don't have 3 for,
Right.
around there.
And it's really important to be visible in the district, right? And I'm sure you guys do a good job. You have a large district with a lot of kids, and so I'm sure that, the scheduling part is a challenge of, getting everywhere to all the events that are going in because you have such a big school district. So, but it sounds like it's working pretty well.
And we do get invited a lot
Uh-huh.
because there's so many
Right,
events at our school. So,
yeah.
I mean, we try to jump to, 2 or 3 events even
Yeah.
on Saturday and
Right.
Sunday. But, that's what we signed up for.
Yeah.
So we gotta
Exactly.
do it. And we need to be there, and our constituents need to see us
Mhm.
out in public, in the whatever events that they're having, because they voted us in and they want to see us, so.
I think of my small school district, like we have 2 high schools, and so we have 2 football games going on at the same time in your district. Oh my gosh, like you better be at all those sporting events, right? And because parents do look forward to seeing you, right? It's really important to be visible in the district. Is there anything else going on with that, or are you guys good with how it's proceeding, or you don't think that there needs to be any protocols or anything? It's working pretty well. Okay. All right. So our next conversation is about the consent agenda. And so I just wanted to ask a question of the board. Why do we have a consent agenda?
What page?
I'm going to pass that out. So this is your policy on consent. And I just wanted to go over that with you. Dr. Lawless, I'm going to pick on you because I know you've been on the board the longest. So can you give us a little history of how consent agenda has worked in your district? What it looks like?
Honest, right? No, we dealt with this, and I think we're very, again, the past and the present, right?
Yeah.
Recently, I voiced it out with a couple of cabinet members that though I respect the conversation, it's open to the public, I love conversation, but if it's consent, if you pulled out 10 to 14 items at a time, it's telling us something that you need more information. But in my tenure here for a long time, there's this, I don't know if it's written agreement among ourselves that if you have questions on consent, you can go directly to the cabinet and ask the questions you have.
Right.
And so when it comes to the consent, it's consent. That means you trust that the cabinet and the staff and the district people really talk about it. That's why they put that in consent. Otherwise, they'll call you and say, hey, Dr. do you have any concern about this? Go for consent. Do you have any question?
Right.
It goes both ways. Or if we have the question, we'll say, okay, in the past, business person at the time said, I don't understand this. Can you give me a little workshop, one-on-one on this? And then so when it comes here, then you already know. And I don't need to pull it because the person responds to my question. And so why I like the whole notion of discussion, because as they ask question, something got triggers in your head too. Then you start asking question again.
Right.
But it becomes cumbersome. Conversation is good, but you have to be open to calling the cabinet and really get into it. So then the meeting that evening, it's consent, and therefore there is the implication that there is the trust that some people have really thought about it and agreed upon, and it's recommended for consent.
Right.
Because if it's discussion, I'm sure the cabinet will put discussion item discussion action.
Mhm.
That's my experience, and I think lately we're pulling a lot. And I sat there and said, well, this is good, because it triggers my thinking too. From their questions, I piggy back with my own question, and then the evening becomes really,
Right.
it's good, but there's some cumbersome
Right.
nature that I hope we talk about.
And the reason why we have consent agenda, right, is so our meetings don't go till 2 in the morning, right? Because usually it's everyday workings that, need approval, that aren't controversial, that, if you look at this, the material I just gave you on page 2, Dr. Lawless, could you read the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th paragraph down on page 2?
Page 2,
Yes, please.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In order?
Yes, please.
In order to promote efficient meetings, the board may bundle a number of items and act upon them together by a single vote through the use of a consent agenda. Consent items shall be items of a routine nature and items for which board discussion is not anticipated and for which the superintendent recommends approval. When any board member requests the removal of an item from the consent agenda, the item shall be removed and given individual consideration for action as a regular agenda item. Board member reports will be kept brief on his/her activities, not to exceed 3 minutes for each board member to further promote efficiency.
Right. And so this is your board policy for consent agenda. And I just wanted to kind of review and talk about the reason why we have consent agenda, and if there's any reflections on, Mary, what's your history on consent? I mean, you are the board president, so you meet with the superintendent before the board meetings and go over the agenda. Now, do you have another board member that goes?
Sometimes we have
Okay.
another board member.
Okay, so that would be a time to ask those questions if you have questions about consent and get if you need more information. But it's really a trust issue, right? Like, it's trusting your staff and really, as a board member, doing your pre-work. If you have questions or concerns about something that's on consent, getting that information. Now, if you do your work, if you do get your questions answered and you still have concerns, then maybe it's okay to pull, but it's really, like Dr. Lawless said, it goes to the efficiency of the meetings, right? And so I just wanted to have a conversation about that, because it's really, it makes the meetings drag on, right? And so, yeah, is there anything else?
I actually would concur with Dr. Wallace. I think we're pulling way too much stuff. That certain things are good to pull that are on consent.
Yes.
To bring out to the public, but
Yes.
I feel like we're getting too finite, and actually, I think it makes us look disjointed.
Yeah.
I really do. I just think we're pulling too much stuff that with a simple phone call to Dr. Lynn or Lisa or Sam or Glenn, whoever it might be, or Ben, could be answered in a matter of a minute or two on a brief phone call. And if we're indeed doing our work as we're supposed to, I think we could have asked a lot of the questions that we're pulling stuff for. Now, like Bill, for the medical stuff, when we're doing those, he likes to pull those, and I think that's good, because that highlights like some mental health and different things like that.
And that's one of the things that I do like to do.
No, I know, yeah.
Right.
I'm just saying that, so I don't think, you know.
No, but I do like to pull some things personally that we can highlight. Like if there's a grant or something that, it's consent and we're gonna vote, to approve it, but I think some of those things, I think there should be a time to be highlighted. And so I like to, personally, I like John said, sometimes we'll pull, if there's a grant on mental health, collaboration that we're having with, Riverside University Health. I want that to be publicized and instead of just
On the consent.
Speaks up on the consent.
So one thing I've done as board president, when we go to approve the consent agenda, I ask if there's any comments or questions. And instead of pulling that item, we can highlight it. Because like in our consent agenda, we get a lot of donations, like from PG&E and different businesses. So a lot of times our members will say, you know what, I'd really like to thank everyone who donated money to the district, that's in the consent agenda. So without pulling it, they can just, kind of highlight it real quick and say thank you. So that's one way to deal with it. But, so I think this goes back to what we talked about in our first meeting. Do you feel you're getting enough information to make a decision on these consent items?
And so I disagree with you, John, because a lot of times I pull things because I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know, and I think sometimes the public needs to know why we're voting here and not thinking that we're rubber stamping everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why I pull. And so not only for my confirmation, and then when I talk to other people, then I know for a fact this is what we're all thinking. So that's why I did that, not just to be heard on the dice.
Oh, I know.
Okay, but I mean,
Just some of like, I'll give an example now since we've gone there. Some of the stuff on the field trips we've done the last two meetings, and we're like, we're being redundant here. So that's all I'm saying. So stuff like that, if you've got a question, you've already done it, call Michael and ask him or Lisa. So we keep down some of that stuff, so we can highlight some of the bigger things, is what I'm saying. It's a balance. It's not a perfect balance. It's never gonna be, but.
Adding on to your question, excuse me, the preparation for the.
Right.
And I very much appreciate you saying that, because the past practice that Dr. Wallace has said, is I became superintendent since 2012. I have not changed it because in generations, the process in place, personally, I find it to be very good. So good processes you don't change.
Right.
You keep it going, you try to make it even more efficient. So obviously we, just for the sake of this discussion for your information,
Yes.
we begin agenda planning as a cabinet. We do an executive cabinet agenda planning before next week's executive planning with the cabinet. The reason I share this with you is because we spend a total of probably 7 hours going through a lot of items. Having said that, like you said, we're like a school district, there are a lot of items that in terms of the nitty-gritty and the understanding of it,
Just the
it's pretty
workings, the
detailed.
inner workings.
So I, as a superintendent, even trust and have to trust my staff in doing their work and understanding the issues. So that's the first piece. Then we do agenda review with the board president, and John and Mary both have kept that tradition of allowing other board members to come in, two, not more than two, and to be able to ask questions. But I leave 3 others out. So what I try to do, or what I do, is between that time, and I need to do a better job in board meeting, which is Thursday, Friday, weekend, plus Monday and Tuesday morning, before the meeting, is, hey, Lisa, let me do this pretty quickly, because I see our board members pretty frequently, which
Yeah.
is a blessing.
That is great.
By the way, conversation happens a
Right.
lot, and I would say, if you have any questions about the agenda, anything at all, I may not even have the answers for the one question we particularly have, but if you give me time, I'll look it up. In our cabinet, executive cabinet sitting behind me in front of me, are very accessible. We have this trusting, national trust relationship with the board.
It is.
They don't hesitate at all picking up the phone and not having to call Michael Lynn for Michael Lynn to go ask the question. They're the experts in the area, they have the answer, and they take it that way.
Right.
And there's no hesitation or trepidation at all. So the access to us is there. So we just need to continue to, I think, move forward that way, making sure that all the questions are addressed.
Right.
Because if there are questions that's not addressed for the board to pull, is completely understandable. I think it's not just the board, it's us, because we like to be prepared. If there's something that the board pulls, I want my staff to be prepared, because I don't want to embarrass the board. And if the question comes our way, either being redundant and or we don't have the ability to address, I'm hoping that's very limited, because we want to keep it efficient and professional. So I just want to kind of just share that. I do think the process that's in place works. I think that we just need to provide, starting with me, more fidelity to that process. And some of the suggestions you made in terms of highlighting the good work that we're doing, it's wonderful. Never even thought about it, you just suggest.
Yeah, and that's what, without pulling, we just, hey, thank you PG&E for, this $1,000 donation, and that way we're not we're not adding a lot of time to the meeting, we're not pulling it and talking about it separately, but we can still acknowledge the good things that people are doing and the good things that are happening in the district, right? Because that's a great conversation to have.
But I think it starts with me. I gotta make sure that, I continue to make sure that I'm accessible and ask those questions in
Right.
preparation.
But also, I think as a board member, I've been on my board for 21 years, I can't even believe it's been 21 years. But really, we have a responsibility, and I think it's, when we get to our governance handbook and going over that, I think we identify that we have a responsibility to ask questions and come prepared to the meetings, right? And make sure that, respect goes both ways. Giving staff a heads up, hey, you know what, I might ask this question during a meeting, and we've already had the conversation, but I'm asking the question for the stakeholders and the people in the audience. I totally get that, because I think that's important, because you're disseminating that information, but really having that respect for your staff, and they respect you, right? And asking the questions and being prepared before the meeting is really important.
But as I've said, not all items that are pulled out is cumbersome. Let me give you an example. Last meeting, somebody pulled out the whole notion of assessment. And, I said, well, it's a policy. I don't know if it's consent. But when I think Bill pulled it, somebody pulled it. And then, so the conversation becomes really rich, because then we talk about, are we using assessment to evaluate teachers' evaluation, test scores or do we use that as an evaluation for teachers, right?
Yes.
Yeah, when it's full. So that's a good one, because then you missed it somehow, but somebody pulled it, and it became a conversation.
Right. And those conversations are important, but also, like, some of the things on consent, they have a timeline, right? And they're on consent because there's a deadline, right? And if you pull it and it gets moved to the next meeting, then maybe you miss that deadline. And even if you're talking grants, right? So it's really important to, try as much as you can to get that information, that you need before the meeting, so you're not, pulling, 9, 10, 11 items off consent, because then it just adds to the workload of your staff and, really getting things done in a timely manner.
Well, Terry, it goes to Dr. Wallace's point,
Right.
it's about preparation.
Yeah.
Because when we do this thing professionally, hopefully there's enough time. We can always use more to be candid, but
Right.
hopefully there's enough time that the board can take a look at the agenda and go through it and with questions. Because the example Dr. Wallace gave, I'll use that just as an example. If there's that question or an opportunity to have that discussion so we can educate the public, as an
Yeah.
example, tell me. Because two things will happen. Number one, I'll put it on discussion.
Right.
Number two, we'll be super prepared to have this robust discussion in terms of question and answer the comment. So it's really about preparation, and
Right.
we want to do things not only efficiently, but do it right. So-
Right. And I think we talked about last time about getting things on the agenda and having it come first as an information item, then a discussion item, then an action item. So if it's coming to you 3 times, you should be able, when it's time to take the action, to have the information that you need, right? But you have a good point of, if you need to have that big conversation about that item, is put it on as an
We'll make it happen,
information.
we'll do that for
Yeah.
preparation.
And usually we tell, if I know something, I'll say, Dr. Simon, I'm gonna pull this, I'm gonna ask this question so the public will know what we're doing.
Mhm.
It's not punitive.
Right.
It's just,
And that's exactly what I've been doing.
right?
I don't want to be that big I'm not, I'm just saying, there's a balance there.
Right, there is a balance, and like I said, sometimes there's deadlines for these things, so that's why they're on consent, and you gotta get going, but anyway, so, are the board members feeling like they're getting enough information and time to prepare? When do you get the agenda and when is your meeting? Is it 3 days?
We get it on Friday
Friday
night
night.
by email and on Saturday in the mail.
Okay,
So we have plenty of time.
Okay.
And back to
And
that
when is the meeting, Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Tuesdays.
And back to that, we need to, I know it's on the weekend, I know it's our time, but when we signed up for this, we knew, we knew. So, you know, we have to read it at home. You know, you have to have plenty of time to sit down and look at it, read it. You can't come running into the meeting with your packet closed and go, oh, let me see what's gonna happen today. You know, I mean, that's crucial.
Right,
Also on the thank yous and all that.
yeah,
She does that every meeting, you know.
okay.
You know, people,
For the
People,
donations
yeah,
and
donations
stuff that
and
are,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
So-
Because you need to acknowledge your community for supporting your school
Yeah.
district, but it can't hijack the meeting either,
yeah,
right?
she does that, in the first part of the meeting.
Yeah, or your, are you feeling like you have enough time when you get the agenda to the time of the meeting? Okay, yeah, because you have that Monday, right, where you can ask staff and ask the questions, clarifying questions that you need for consent. Okay, well, I think it's just important that we have this discussion, and, you know, if everyone's feeling like they, one, have enough time by getting the agenda and having 3 days before the meeting, that's enough time to prepare.
Maybe that's not enough time, maybe we should get it by Thursday,
We,
so we can have.
It's tough for staff because our agenda is
So we
like
can
this.
Friday.
Yeah, oh, it's.
and on Wednesday is when I meet with Dr. Lynn, and then they still have to have 2 days
We go
to
through 3
prepare.
combing before you get to Friday.
Yeah,
Ooh,
so there's no way we can get it on Thursday.
mhm.
There's no way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's important just to be mindful that if you are pulling things, that it's for a good reason, and you've done your, you know, you've prepared as best you can before the meeting, and just to make it a little bit easier on staff, but it's always good to help the stakeholders understand what's going on, right? That's really important, but also, like I said, not letting it hijack the meeting, so. Okay, any other reflections on that? We'll move to, I thought I had 3 hours, I only have an hour and a half, gosh. We got a lot to get to.
But
We have
if you-
4 hours.
To the benefit of the cabinet,
Yes.
they're very patient, they're
Yes.
very patient, we really
Yeah, they're very
get them
patient.
a lot of hard questions.
Right.
You know, sometimes it gets personal, say, Sam, what do you mean by assessment? You know, but because of the call for that moment, you get excited,
Right,
you get mind thinking,
right.
and then you pressure them, you ask them questions that they're, you know.
But I think the culture here, I mean, after working with you guys, there's respect that goes both ways. Like, I can feel that, like, the climate and culture here is of respect. And so just, you know, being mindful of staff time and, you know, and preparation, so, all
Well,
right.
I know for me, it's one last point, that, you know, I review it, you know, Friday night or Saturday, but it wasn't until I started going to some of the agenda reviews that I felt a little bit better about, I received more information, I don't know if that makes sense. I think when you're sitting there and you're going over things one by one with somebody else, that's where I felt a little bit better understanding.
Like getting,
So even now,
Right.
getting it, you know, and I try and review it, and, you know, sometimes when you're sitting there discussing it with somebody else, it makes more sense.
and that's true, and maybe there needs to be, you know, it sounds like you guys have a rotation in place, though, for that, for those agenda preparing meetings. Okay, so next we're gonna go to Board Bylaw 9010, and this is just, I think we talked about this last time, and it's just about when you have a conversation out in public, really letting the president speak for the board, or if you're speaking as an individual, making sure that you're making that known that you're speaking as an individual. Has there been any conflicts or problems around that, or is that a conversation we need to have? I think we talked about it in length last time. Has anything come up in regard to that?
And they're very honest calling, you know, we have an event planning and cabinet called me and said, well,
Right.
you know, this is not a that kind of event. I said, okay, yeah, so we'll correct it. And there's that open communication. Instead of waiting until it becomes a problem, they raise it ahead of time, so we can remedy it right away.
Okay. And then we had talked last time too about really utilizing the president of the board as a spokesman for the board. Has that been happening, Mary? Have you been?
Like in events?
Well, I think in events, in, different communications, if maybe I don't know, you're such a big district, you probably have a media person that does your contacts that way. Hi. We're small, we don't have any of that. But anyway, so I just wanted to, because it was a big conversation last time we had a workshop, I just wanted to check in real quick and see if, there still, is a little bit of a challenge that way, or if it's gotten better.
When we go to events, like, if the person is there from that trustee area, they're the ones that speak. I don't, like, we went to a Reflections award ceremony. That's John's trustee area, so John did the welcome.
Okay.
We went to an event yesterday that was an emergency event, and the student was from Lisa's trustee area, so she spoke. I don't need to speak. I mean, if it's their area,
right,
it's their area and they get to speak. We are all together, loving our whole district, but, I don't need to speak at every single thing. If it, they need.
I think Mary's good, and John, when he was president, when it's an official, I think
Right.
an official thing, they will speak as president on behalf of the board, but if it's something like Mary was saying, she and John, the same thing, we're very good about saying, oh, why don't you get up and speak? Even if it's not in that trustee area, let's say it's like a spelling bee or something.
Yeah.
They truly are very generous of one
Say, oh, why don't you go ahead and say something. But I think for an official thing, I think that, right now, Mary and again with John, they were very good about, being kind of the official voice.
Yeah, and so if we go beyond like just the everyday happenings of the district, so say there was something that happened very controversial, which never happens in our school district, right? And the newspaper contacted one of the other board members, would you deflect to the president to make that,
No,
to have that
we
conversation?
deflect
Okay.
The communications.
Okay.
And it is different for us than you.
Right.
We're huge.
You guys are big. And that's working good. Okay, all right. I just wanted to check that because we spent a lot of time on that, our last workshop, and just making sure that that's going how it needs to go. All right, so let's go to our next thing before we get to our handbook. And so this is Board Bylaw 9140. And what this is about, we're going to talk about our committees.
They're sticking together. Here we go. You're welcome.
And so Dr. Lynn gave me this paper, and it has all of your committees. And so you do have in that,
Do we have that?
no,
Okay.
No.
I just didn't see it.
yeah, no, you don't have this. But, so I wanted to ask you guys, so you've had some committees that started like way back in 2008, 2010, 2013. How do you evaluate those committees? Like in your policy, it says that you need to evaluate during your organizational meeting and just see if they're still needed, because maybe at the time they were appropriate, but maybe now you've moved to a different time in the district, and maybe you don't need that committee anymore. So for one, is that committee still relevant to what's going on in the district? And another thing is, if one board member or two board members are on that committee, how does the information from that committee get back to the board? So is the board member that's on that committee speaking without having the other board members included or knowing what's going on in that committee, the information needs to circle around, right? So from that committee, it needs to come back to the board in a regular board meeting as an informational item, right? Just so that everyone's included and knows what's going on, right? In the paper I just handed you, the 9140, it really outlines what a board member is able to do on those committees and what they're not able to do, right? So I'm just making sure that you guys are reflecting on these committees, because sometimes we make them and then, okay, we still have them, but what are they accomplishing, right? And are they a drain on staff getting information for that committee? Do you still need it? So, according to your policy, you're supposed to, like I said, review at your organizational meeting. Maybe for 2021, that would be a good practice to start again at that organizational meeting. Do you have any reflections on the committees and, their relevance, the ones that you have? Anything like that?
I think we need to work on that,
Okay,
because we're all over the place.
right.
But we hear my fellow board members do the reporting of what's going on in our 3-minute report.
Uh-huh,
I did this, I do that, I did this. But we don't go in depth like my participation in this committee resulted to this.
right.
And so that kind of reporting, we have none.
And maybe that could go with your governance calendar. Usually you have a governance calendar, and every so often you would bring one of these committees and that board member as an informational item, and they can discuss what was going on in that committee, so everyone has the same information, right? And really, evaluating if you still need those committees.
Well, I would say our 3 committees that stand out the most are our city school district committees, like we have
Okay. Got it.
Corona,
Uh-huh.
Eastvale, and Norco. So we have 2 people on each committee, and then we have an alternate.
Okay,
Those are to discuss with, whether it be the mayor, city council person,
mhm,
traffic issues, things like that, we need another crossing guard, things like that are community and school district.
Would
right.
you be able to pass that around so we can see
Oh,
what
sure.
committees?
Those are very important, because we need to keep that open communication with our city councils.
Right, that is really important, and just, I think my concern would be, do you still need some of these committees? That sounds like it's
Yeah,
really
those are-
important and you need to keep. But the other ones, I think as a board, you need to evaluate and make sure that, because it does take staff time to get the information for these committees, and really evaluate if that's a good use of the staff time and if you still need those committees. So it's just a reflection on, maybe you need to get that in your governance calendar for your organizational meeting to reflect on those committees.
So when Jerry asked me about this particular policy and looking at the committee, so I did my best based on the time I've been here, and it's going around. Actually, it shouldn't be copies, I apologize. But you'll see it. I actually put in the committee to report on Chair in terms of, a little bit of history of what's, in terms of functionality of the committee.
Right.
So I started in 2008, that's when I came in. And at that time, between 2008 and 2013, we had, I remember 2 specifically, board-appointed committees. And at the time, to your point though, the policy,
Right.
the board did not go through the actual motion of policy in terms of appointment, evaluation, therefore making sure feedback is given to the board.
That circular
Exactly.
information.
So it was, you'll see on that grid that's coming around, it was a marketing committee and the achievement gap committee back then.
Right.
And the marketing committee lasted about 3 years, and I even put down the person's staff member that was assigned, and the board member who either volunteer, I don't think it was appointed per se, to serve on that committee.
Right.
And the marketing committee is an example. It went defunct because we established the much needed communications division.
Right.
And so we no longer meet anymore.
Okay.
But the process piece, to your point, that the annual evaluation, relevancy, appointment, who serves on what,
Yeah.
we only do that, like Mary said, for 3 actually on that list,
Right.
which is really the city committee,
Okay.
district committee. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to follow your policy, right? I mean, it's here for a reason, and, you know, really evaluate, make sure that every board member has an equal opportunity to be on a committee, right? I mean, if someone's been on a committee for a long, long time, maybe you need to switch it up a little bit and let another board member be involved with it. So that's all I'm saying, is maybe look at getting that on your governance calendar for your organizational meeting, a reflection on the committees.
Yeah, I think evaluation is good because some committees, they have a lot of staff on them, and I know staff's time is valuable. Also, they have a lot of principals that need to be at their schools. And, you know, we keep bringing them in and bringing them in, and we don't have a report back to what's going on in that committee, so we're just like, well, what does this committee do? You know,
Right.
and it's taken a lot of time away from the schools of having their principal or assistant principal or teacher on special assignment, whoever it is, which is, it's a lot of staff time, so.
Yeah, and I think
Into
staff time
your-
equals money,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And so we all know how precious every dollar is in these school
Yeah.
districts, right? So, and there's a limited amount of time. Staff can only do so much, right? And so the priorities are really important of what you have them work on. So I'm just saying that maybe, you know, in December, next December, when you're doing your organizational meetings, to get that on your calendar and really evaluate and make sure that they're still relevant, or maybe there's some other committees that you need, right? So, yes, please.
So from your going around the state and your own school district,
Yes,
participation at CSBA or regional delegation,
yeah,
is that something that we need to talk about as a rotation thing? I've been
oh,
involved in that for a long time.
okay,
So, and this is honest, intentional on my part. When we get to the election of going out there, you know, I usually love doing that myself, because in the past, I even ran for election for that state board.
for delegate?
For delegate assembly, or whatever,
assembly?
yeah. But then I
Okay.
let my, you know, and I'm very open and said, well, the new board members need to
Yeah.
go. But then
Yeah.
when they go, they won't leave that post anymore. And and I'm really shy again to ask, what about the others? What would be a better, how do they handle that?
So what I think I hear you asking is, so if one of your board members are a delegate, you know, elected for delegate assembly for CSBA, should there be a rotation?
Yeah.
Like, should that person keep that job for 20 years, or should, you know, you keep it for 2 years? I think the term is 2 years.
How do people handle that?
You know, I think it's up to the board, right? And I think that's an important conversation to have, you know, because I think just because Mary is the board president doesn't mean she has more power than anyone else, right? Everyone has equal power on the board. Actually, the board president just does a lot more work and everything organized, you know? But that would be a discussion to have, right? And I know that it's not just your board, right? So we have delegate areas, but you know, I think it's important that everyone has the opportunity to be involved with everything they want to, right? And CSBA has lots of opportunities. They have like legislative committee, I was on that for
That you can sign up for.
a couple of years, legislative committee. They have AEC, which you're on, Mary.
I signed up for that,
Yeah.
nobody gave that to me.
Yeah, planning,
Just,
planning, but I can get you that information, Dr. Lawless, on some of the committees that CSBA
For us, we
has.
just need
Okay,
to know how to handle that.
yeah. I think it's just important you guys have that conversation and, you
To avoid
know.
the awkwardness of,
Yeah.
I want it to, but, you
Yeah.
know, that kind of.
Yeah, and
kind of
see,
feeling.
like with CSBA, with those committees, the president picks them. So what you need to do is get in touch with the CSBA, the person, the person coming in as president, and just say, shoot him an email, because all the emails are on the CSBA website, and just say, hey, I'd be really interested in being on the ledge committee or the nominating committee. So there's lots of opportunities in CSBA, but you just, like you said, like Mary said, you have to put your name in the hat, and then let them know that you're interested in it.
Plus, our regional rep for this area, Wendy, she's from Palm Springs, she sends us emails all the time. I mean, she floods us with emails, and she'll say, we need somebody because they're terming out, or they didn't win their election, or whatever.
Right.
Who wants to sign up? So we get stuff all the time.
Okay.
You could sign up, anybody can sign up for this. And I wanted to do something at the state level, so
Right.
I emailed our president and said,
Yeah.
what's open, what can I do?
Yeah.
Like, I have a lot
And
of.
don't be shy,
Yeah.
because a lot of times they can't
So-
even fill those committees.
That's
right?
right, that's right.
And so they don't know that you want to do it if you don't let them know, right?
Exactly.
So definitely keep in touch with your region person, Mary.
But
like
then
you said.
again, that's why it's important to be at events and
Right.
go, go, you're seen at your district, you're seen when you go to convention or
Right.
whatever,
Yeah.
and they see that you're active, and then they get to know you,
Yeah,
How would you like to be on this committee? Ledge, they always are asking for people,
Yeah.
because not a lot of people want to do that.
and I love that, like, that's my jam, I love it. I love
So
it.
there's a lot of
That's awesome.
opportunities.
Yeah, so just stay in touch with
I'm
Yeah.
not really talking about myself, but I mean, the awkwardness is that, because we're a big district,
Yeah, you are.
I think we're entitled to 2 delegates
Uh-huh,
to, of Region 18.
okay,
So if we allow the rotation, then other board members who have not served in that, I did many years, in
uh-huh.
that capacity can have that opportunity.
Right,
That's
and
what I'm
it's an election, right?
Right.
So you have to get with everyone in your, because I ran for delegate and I'm like emailing them, hey, I'm Gary Beal. But like Mary said, you have to be visible, right? You have to be visible in the CSBA organization to get those votes. But I think it's an important conversation to
I
have.
don't know if you know, but we're guaranteed a spot.
Oh, you're guaranteed a
Because we
spot from the board. Okay,
We're guaranteed.
okay,
So
yeah,
if there's a rotation, then
okay,
this person can go this year, 2
Yeah.
years. This person, when it expires,
uh-huh,
you let the other people to do it, rather
Yeah.
than run for election,
right.
right?
So I
You wanna
think
do it again.
that's a good conversation for
Because
you
we
guys
have
to
a
have.
conversation like that, so
Yeah.
avoid any awkwardness.
But
Yeah,
none of us have been here 20 years, only Dr. Lala, so.
yeah,
Not in the board, but not on the CSBA thing.
yeah.
On the board.
Yeah, but you would bring a lot of experience to ledge committee or
Yeah, yeah.
nominating committee, or, you know what I mean?
I've
Like,
spoken those meetings, I probably lie and
yeah,
do the,
yeah,
that's why
yeah,
it's good to be,
Yeah.
all board members should have that experience.
Yeah.
Because you really drive,
oh, yeah, I mean,
it's
a
a
lot of
very
things.
important job that they're doing.
Mhm. So, yeah.
But there's
I
time
think that-
commitment also.
Yeah, there
Because
is.
there's a lot of conference calls, you have to be at the conference a day early, so that means if you're already going to a conference, you're there 4 days, so that means 5 days away from your job or whatever, your family, whatever it
It
is, so.
is, you have to take that
You
into
can't be the
consideration.
member and then all of a sudden, I'm not gonna be here and I can't show up, because that makes, we have 2 votes and now we have 1 vote, if
Right.
you're not there. So, I mean, it's a lot of time commitment too.
Right, and on ledge committee, when I was on ledge committee, there was a really important vote we took and 2 people were absent and it didn't pass because it, and I kind of knew that it was going to go our way if they were there. So like you said, it's really important if you make that commitment to stick with it.
And that's a very busy committee, because you have to be there ahead of time before the conference.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, right? Okay, so let's, since my time is dwindling, let's go to our governance handbook. I'm gonna get those hours back from you. So this is a draft that I sent to Judy after we had our meeting. and I just wanted to, we're not going to take any action on this. This is just an informational item. And at your next board meeting or the meeting after that, after we make our edits, then you can approve that at an open board meeting. And I think it's what's really important about this governance handbook, it's an agreement on how you do business in the district, right? So it's not just something you create and you put on the shelf. So I think it's important to, at least once a year, to review this handbook. And like you were saying, Lisa, how you ask questions to inform the stakeholders, they need to know what your leadership style is, that you have this agreement, you know. You're modeling leadership for your community with this governance handbook and by the work you do as a school board member. So really important to review it, you know, after we create it. I thought my glasses were up here, but so let's get into it. All right, so if you guys will go to the first page, and we did change the mission a little bit. So I don't know if you guys have reviewed it since we've done our edits, but on page 1, if you could just, I'll give you a couple minutes, and if you could just read through page 1 and see if anything resonates with you, or, you know, I just want, actually I want to see if I captured what your thoughts and feelings were in our workshop correctly.
We got it in our packet, so we should have read it already.
Yeah, I have a comment on the goals, because I thought that the majority of us had kind of mentioned under the goals some social, emotional goals, and there's, if I'm reading right, I don't see any at all. It's all about student achievement, closing the achievement gap, and that's one of our pillars, is social emotional, and there's nothing in the goals. So I think that we need to have something on social emotional well-being of students, teachers, staff. I mean, I think I think we pretty much all had mentioned
And
the
probably why
importance
it
of that.
didn't get read, because it is in the, because I read two of the mission statement, and we put it there, but you're right, it should be.
Yeah, we did promote educational excellence and
But it was,
social emotional.
it was under the goals too.
So, how would you like to word that, Bill?
I don't know, something, provide social emotional well-being, or promote social emotional well-being of our students, teachers, and staff, or, I don't know.
Kind of wordsmithing it right now, so.
The goals of
Support our
Colorado.
staff and students through.
Maybe, because, actually, I was waffling between the two of you. I think you said promote. Actually, I kind of like both, support and promote. Isn't that really?
So the opening sentence is, the goals of Corona Norco are to provide students with social, emotional support and well-being.
Well-being.
Social, emotional support and well-being. Okay, so it would read, the goals of Corona Norco are to provide students with social, emotional support and well-being.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I do think we need to also, not just students, but, you know, teachers and staff, I think that needs to be included, because not of students, teachers, and staff, or
Social, emotional support and well-being.
for our students, teachers, and staff. What do you guys think?
So the hard part is, it says students up above.
Oh, okay,
Maybe we can
okay,
say
okay.
including staff and,
Right. Right. Yeah,
emotional
students, social, emotional, well-being.
support
Right.
Including staff, and who else did you want to, what other
Teachers and staff.
Staff, okay. Thank you. That's why we're going through this, because I wanted to make sure that we captured everything that you wanted it included. The next section, roles and responsibilities, that, oh yes, please.
I think,
Go ahead.
Coach is really noticeably absent here, but this district, from my endpoint, work a lot on it. We have CPE, we have equity for all kids. I think we should inject somewhere there the word equity, because we have the policy equity, the achievement gap. What we do is because we want to take care of equity. We have CPE, the funding. We provide all those equitable, or we try to be equitable. And then at this age, with 2020, people who equity is absent in our district. How can that be?
So number 2, would you like to add equity? So we have the goals of Corona Norco are to provide students with an opportunity to close the achievement opportunity gaps. Would you like to add equity, the word equity into that one, or would you like it as standalone bullet?
Standalone, or infused in that programs that are research-based for equity, because we have programs, because we took it. For me, if I'm the one
Yeah.
infusing that.
I mean, this is your document, so it needs to reflect what you want it to reflect, right?
Yeah, we do equity conference every summer, we do all of this, and yet it's not reflected here. So I need help, I don't know where to put it.
The goals of Corona Norco are to provide students with an equity-based education?
Yes, I think that's.
Equity-based programs, if that's what you
I
want.
think
Okay.
that's what.
Equity-based
I
programs?
think that reflects us, right?
Okay.
Corona.
Is that a thumbs up from everyone? Okay.
Is that another bullet on the bottom, or are you adding to which one? To number 2?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Programs that are research-based for efficiency
I think what, I think,
and
I said
fiscal.
Elizabeth
equity-based
said something
programs.
nice. What did you say?
Equity-based programs.
Equity-based program, there you go.
That are research.
Yeah, that are research-based.
So
just
well,
add-
maybe that's redundant, isn't it?
It's
Equity,
kind of saying the
Yeah, it
same
is.
thing twice.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, programs that are research and equity-based for efficiency.
Maybe it needs a standalone bullet,
I
right?
think it is, yeah, it's.
So did you want to make it a standalone bullet or add it to number 4?
For
The
me,
goals are getting long.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
It's like, because now we just added another one, right, at the bottom? No, or did yours?
you want my opinion?
Yes, please.
I think it should be a standalone,
Okay.
you know, even, I don't want to sound religious here, but even the Bible has equity all over the place.
Okay.
That's a good argumentation.
So, I mean, we can keep it simple, right? The goals of Corona Norco are to provide students with equity-based
Program,
programs.
or equity-based curriculum and instruction, if you want to be more academic.
Well, why don't you just add it to the programs that are research-based for, why are we doing another, you're
Yeah, that's
talking
what I
about
said.
programs right there.
Okay, which one are you talking about?
Programs
Number
that are
4.
research-based for efficiency and fiscal solvency. Why can't you add
Equity-based.
equity-based in there and
Just research.
And where would you add it at? Where,
I don't know,
yeah, what Judy said.
okay, Judy, what did you say?
I
Say
think
it
it was
again.
actually Lisa Marroquin that said it,
Lisa.
equity-based programs that are research-based for efficiency and fiscal solvency.
Okay.
They'll probably have us using base twice in this kind of thing. That's good.
Equity-based programs that are
Or we
research-based.
can get rid of the second base,
Yes.
equity-based programs that are research for efficiency and fiscal
Yep,
solvency.
yes, there you go.
There you go.
That's it.
Thank you, Judy.
You want another amendment? Because when you talk about efficiency, there are things that are efficient but not effective. You know, they're efficient because we want the things to move forward, to go fast, to do it. It's efficient, but it's not effective.
Right.
So,
But
and
it's
equity is not just for efficiency and quickness, but equity is everything. Because I don't imagine a school district that is excellent without equity.
Yeah,
We're excellent because we took care of everybody,
right.
regardless of background,
Everyone
regardless of,
matters,
yeah,
right.
everybody matters. So it's really bigger than efficiency and fiscal solvency, bigger than research-based. It's really a way of thinking.
Mhm.
That's why I'm,
You're kind of leaning toward the, having its own bullet.
yeah, because it doesn't, because programs, we have equitable curriculum, we have equitable instruction, we have equitable way of dealing with employees, we have equitable way of connecting with unions, with everybody, with parents. So it's really a big,
Or to provide students with equity-based.
Education. And equity.
I like the kind of the, what did you say about the curriculum and instruction?
yeah, forgot now.
That's what happens to us, right? Okay,
Equity-based curriculum and instruction.
okay.
Yeah.
Equity-based curriculum and instruction, okay? Because you guys have done a lot of really fantastic work in that area, so, you know, it should be included.
So can you reiterate what you just said?
Okay, so we would be adding a bullet on the bottom. The goals of Cronin Orco are to provide students with equity-based curriculum and instruction. Is that okay?
Well, then, does that make bullet 4 redundant now?
So we would probably take away the equity-based, you know, and just leave bullet 4 as it is, programs that are research-based for efficiency and fiscal solvency. Or we could just get rid of that bullet if that's not resonating with you guys. We could get rid of that one and just, you know, add the bullet on the bottom with equity-based curriculum and instruction.
Well, see, because you gotta have a physical piece in it, because that's one of our jobs, make sure the
Right.
fiduciary part of our job is
Yeah.
kept. So not to keep that in, but
I think that 2 and 5 are redundant personally.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we get rid of 2 and put the equity-based in its place.
in this place.
I don't know, I just see an opportunity to close the achievement opportunity gaps, and then co-curricular and extracurricular programs that will support the goal of closing the achievement opportunity gaps.
So you want to take away
Strike 2.
Okay, strike 2
And 5, right?
and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, keep,
You want to keep 5?
Yeah.
Keep 5 and take 2 out.
Okay, got it. And then we added equity, so we're at the same amount of bullets. Okay? All right. Everyone can live with that? That's good, thumbs up?
No, well, we have the other one that he added.
What? No, we had the equity base, so we did add a bullet, but we took away 2.
No, we added 2.
I know,
And took away 1.
Yeah.
No, but I meant we took
Number
away
2.
number 2, that's what I was saying. So,
Okay, what's the difference between co-curricular and extracurricular and then an opportunity for the, help me understand this. Why are we segregating co-curricular, extracurricular programs opposed to academic programs? Why are we doing that?
we could strike the co-curricular and extracurricular and just put academic programs.
Because isn't closing the achievement gap part of equity?
Yes.
So, well, but you know that's the truth.
You're on the right track.
And everybody's going to be doing it differently.
And I think the piece about the co-curricular and extracurricular is that a lot of times children of poverty don't have the access to the co-curricular or the extracurricular activities, and maybe that's why that was identified.
But when you say equity-based programs, that will include that, both academically, unless you want to write in there, add to that bullet, academically and.
Well, this
No,
needs
but I'm
to
just saying,
reflect,
it just.
yeah, it needs to reflect your
Reading
thoughts.
this, it can be read many different ways.
Right.
Equity-based curriculum instruction.
We already have equity in there. You know.
Yeah, so you already have
Not the right equity on every
programs.
single line, no.
No, I'm just articulating it to myself so I can see maybe the opportunity, closing the gap needs to go, because when you talk about equity, that is really what you want to eliminate. That's why we have equity.
Right.
You want a equitable
Well, then,
curriculum.
why don't you do this equity-based academic and extracurricular programs that are, that's just a suggestion. If you want to be specific, but I think programs is inclusive of both during the day and after school.
Okay. So you could strike the co-curricular and extracurricular and just put programs.
Just programs. Just
Everyone
leave it
good with
like-
that?
Just take out that whole sentence.
Oh, take out the whole
Well,
sentence?
that's my suggestion.
Okay. How do you guys feel about it? You want to get rid of that one bullet? Since we identified the equity-based curriculum and instruction?
Programs that are, right?
So what bullet is that?
Wait,
One,
so
two,
I don't know if I'm understanding you right, Lisa. So get rid of, are you saying get rid of the entire 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth bullet?
5.
Yeah.
Yes.
The entire bullet?
The entire bullet. Okay. Because a program, unless you specify the programs would be anytime there's a school-associated event. Yeah.
And then the second bullet would read, provide students with an equity-based curriculum, or provide students with equity-based curriculum and instruction.
Yes.
Okay? Is that good, guys?
So we're taking out the whole,
Co-curricular and extracurricular. Number 5, we're getting
the
rid
whole
of.
thing.
Yeah, getting rid of that bullet. Okay. All right. So we got that, got the goals down. Everyone good with the goals now?
One more?
Do you have,
Well, it's burning in my head, because I went to a workshop by Tim Wise, the one who's good speaker.
yes.
And he talks about training our students to be academics and good in doing job and so on. But he gave us an acronym. We need media literacy for kids, we need sociology. We want kids to be kind.
Right.
We want kids to be kind, to be just, to be humanistic. But I'm sure my
That's right.
colleagues will agree with me that we just don't want our kids to be good academically, but
Right.
they want them to be good kids,
I mean, you could put
right?
citizens, you could address
Right.
that. The goals of Corona Norco are to provide students with, how do you say it? With the ability to be not outstanding citizens, but to be,
Be compassionate.
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean,
Because
that-
my kids were
putting
smart,
that
okay, but
human,
they need that. They learned a lot here in Corona Norco,
compassionate.
and they became really good students and
Right.
professionals, but maybe they're not
Mhm.
that humanistic approach.
Well, how about prepare, in the mission, it says prepare all students to lead productive lives in a diverse global community with the ability of responsible decision-making.
But that's it. And that's also inclusive in the social and emotional support, that pillar right there. That's being kind, that's
being
being,
kind.
that's teaching them how to be a
As long
human
as
being.
we have it, yeah.
Yeah.
Just so, you know, I just want to make sure that everyone's voice is heard, you know, in this. And
Yes.
and also, it's a living document, right? Like, you're always able to reflect and make changes as you wish. But, so do you think that, are you good with that, Dr. Lawless? Does that encompass?
As long as, yeah, we
Okay,
understand what.
right.
social-
And it's important to have this conversation so everyone's on the same page, right? So, okay, let's leave goals for a while and we can come back to it if we need to revisit it. But roles and responsibilities, the bottom of page 1, that's kind of boilerplate.
Okay, 1 second.
Okay,
On the bottom there, the Board of Trustees sets directions for community schools by. The second bullet, assessing district needs, that's not our job. It's assessing district needs with the collaboration of the administration, because I'm not gonna tell district how to run the district.
Well, the assessing district needs, I think, what that means is the staff gives you the data
Okay.
and then you make the, you know, the decision according to what staff is telling you. If you want to make that a little bit clearer, we
I
can.
was just saying, like, assessing district needs with the collaboration of the district administration or staff, however you want to put that.
Okay, I think with
That
the
is
collaboration of the staff.
Okay, perfect.
With the collaboration of the staff. Okay.
Thank you.
You're right. I mean, sometimes as board members, we can get in the weeds that way, but I think what they were referring to was, you know, getting data from staff. But that clarifies, and I think that's really important. Okay, so page 2, like I said, that's kind of boilerplate. It's just roles and responsibilities of
I
the,
have a question.
okay.
Sorry.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, under the second one, provide support through our behavior and by our actions.
Mhm.
On the last bullet, being knowledgeable about the district efforts and be able to explain them to the public. So there's either got to be a little thing there saying, make sure that it is a message that is coming from the 5 of us and not just the one individual, or if you want to cut out that one little piece there, just be knowledgeable about district efforts. I mean,
Well, part of our jobs is like ambassadors for the district.
exactly.
You know, and so we're constantly, you know, talking about maybe the good things that are happening in the school, and so I think that that's referring to, it wouldn't be saying, you know, making a judgment call, but it would be just talking about the good things and the programs that are going on in the district, right? But we can clarify that if you want to.
I think it's mentioned later on in
It's,
there.
on the next one, it says common voice, so if you go access community leaders on that same page, the first bullet says speaking with common voice about the district priorities, goals, and issues. There's where
Mhm.
that,
Yeah, and I think
Explains
that kind of refers to that, right?
right, so I was just saying, maybe, because
We can
people
get
are
rid
gonna
of
read
that.
only,
Yeah, and so we have to remember that this document is going to be an onboarding tool for new board members that, you know, during an
exactly,
election. So it has to be clear and it has to say what you want it to say. So if you'd like to get rid of that bullet, that's perfectly fine, and just refer to the other one.
no, I like that bullet, it's just, let's stop it right there, our knowledge about the district efforts, period.
Okay,
Okay, then take out the last piece.
And able to explain them
Yes,
to the public.
yeah,
Can
that-
can I interject for just a second?
Okay.
I think what was meant by that is, obviously, it isn't a judgment, but say you're out in public and someone says, do you have dual immersion in your school district?
Yeah.
Absolutely, we do. We have it, it's being knowledgeable to disseminate factual information.
The
about
programs.
Right, it's not about making a judgment call and saying the board believes something.
Right.
That's the way it was interpreted for me.
Yeah.
And I did make it up there, if you wanted to put an example, that would be an example there of what's something we should all know about. But other than that, if I'm a brand new board member and I didn't,
So however you guys want to do it, if you want to get rid of the bottom piece of that, or ended at efforts, or if you wanted to keep that other piece.
I think stopping it at efforts, and they just kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we go back briefly to the superintendent?
Oh,
I
sure.
was just thinking about the superintendent I've had in the past.
Uh-huh.
I think, I don't know, just me talking here personally.
Which piece is that?
The superintendent is hired by the school board to provide professional expertise. Because, for example, Dr. Pedro Garcia is visionary. He has a lot of vision, or the other one, the one with Dr. Lin. Because they have the vision, right? They're not just managers. They guide the thinking of the politicians like us,
Right.
but they provide the vision for the whole district. That we will expand our CTE, or we will hire this. So I don't want to shortchange the characteristic of the
Is
superintendent.
that on page 2? I'm not
Page
seeing
two.
it.
It's on page one.
Oh, page one.
Under roles and responsibilities.
I don't see, at least personally, my superintendent as manager, I think we respect or value his vision in leading his cabinet, leading everybody. There's got to be some, vision, some visionary characteristic. And I don't know how we word it. I'm just not comfortable having a superintendent that is only manager.
Right.
Because they have the vision, they really, that's why they're here.
I don't get what he wants. What do you want?
I think he wants to add
Wants it
something
to
like,
be a little more
and
Like
to
number
provide
three.
a vision for and to provide the.
Well, we
vision.
hope when we hire a superintendent, they come with a vision. We hope they don't come just to be the managers.
That's why.
Doesn't every,
The
well,
reality is
I think he
don't
just wants
want
it documented.
manager.
So would you like it as a third bullet to, how would you word that, Dr.
Okay,
Lynn?
the superintendent
Like,
is
what would you
hired by the
do?
school board to provide.
Yeah.
but what if he comes in or she comes in and there's already a vision and they're just continuing the process? So now you'll be linking it in there where we're gonna evaluate him or her because they don't have a vision or they're not completing the vision that was already set by a previous administration. You know, sometimes that's difficult when we're coming into situations like that. You know, I think, I'm looking at it, when I read this, I thought this was outstanding because all it is talking about our role as a governing board
Right.
and how we work with the superintendent. So whether he or she has a vision that we approve or we don't approve, that's something we have to discuss. But, you know, that's not our, I'm just voicing how I feel and I look at it.
I understand.
Yeah, but to put it in there, then you're opening up Pandora's box right now.
Yeah, that, I mean,
Okay, I can buy that, but
okay.
Okay? We can think about it, and it's, like you said, this is not stone.
Yeah,
no, it's not.
it's,
Just,
because our district has a mission, a vision, and goals already.
right, and hopefully
So when the
you're,
superintendent comes in,
the manager,
they're working on that.
they just manage.
Well, to your question, you asked me,
Yeah.
the superintendent leads.
Leads.
Right.
That's a critical piece. It's an actionable piece. It's not some, it's not a phrase to pontificate or speak
That's-
out. Actions speak
Okay.
louder than words.
That's the word I'm looking for. It's not just manages, but,
It's leading, not only encourage.
Okay.
Yes.
okay.
Okay, all right, so page 2, anything else, reflections, changes? Okay, so, page 3,
You read that sentence, and I think that should be highlighted.
which sent,
The one that you said,
okay.
yeah, that.
the trustee areas?
Yes.
Okay, we can do that, we can, Judy, can we do bold on that?
Which one?
On the, page 3, on the sentence that I read, the board understands that even though its members are voted into office by trustee area.
Yeah, because that doesn't change the language of.
Yeah, it doesn't change it,
No.
and we're not changing policy.
Okay.
We're just making it bold, so we know that's important. Okay.
Okay, and then, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, this is what
So
this
number
meeting
6,
is about.
number 6, I have a
Okay.
question. It says, what would this be reference to? Refuse to play politics to either judicial partisan or any petty sense. So if you're gonna put that in there, I think we need an example because politics is a strange world.
Right.
And you gotta be really careful in this position.
So I think what that's referring to is, being a board member should be apolitical, right? Like what we're focused on is student achievement. It's not Democrat, Republican, whatever
Exactly.
you want to talk about. We're focused, it's apolitical. We don't even say if we're Democrat or Republican when we're running.
Could you
for
write
school.
nonpartisan, would that be more clear?
And so
Not nonpartisan.
So this would be, Judy, help me out, this would be a policy change. So this is kind of a big deal. If it's really important, we can make a policy change, but this is, not just like changing a sentence.
Yeah,
It's gonna have to be,
policy.
it's gonna have to be. So if you can live with it, you probably, we should leave it alone, but if it's something that's, really sticking out to you, then, we can go down that road.
Because I know that you three are gonna be going out there. That first question when you knock on that door, are you Democrat or are you Republican?
And we
they're
say
gonna slam-
nonpartisan.
And you know what? You can do that all you want, but you know what? They're not gonna talk to you unless you answer them. And that's what happened when I went on my trail. And that's an unfortunate thing, but it's something that we gotta be realistic to, that's gonna be happening.
Yeah, that's that, all the time.
And so all the time. So anyway, we can leave it like it is if you're all fine with it.
Okay. All right, so page 4, and this is just more of your policy. And I think you've done some really good work on this. I mean, it's very encompassing, it covers a lot. So page 5, board commitments, I got that off your website. And I don't know if you want to include that in your governance handbook or if you don't. What's the pleasure of the board?
I suggest we take it out. It's too late next one.
Page 5,
Yes,
board commitments.
yes.
So that was on your website and I just included it because I thought it was a pretty good statement of what you guys stand for. But if you think that that doesn't need to be in there, we can strike it, or if you want to keep it, we can. So just whatever the pleasure of the board is.
Because you already have the mission goals, the visions and everything in the front. This is just elaborating on it a little bit. So I think it's a bit too much. Me personally.
How does everyone else feel about that? And we're on page 5, board
Right.
commitments.
I feel commitment is a very heavy word, so when we say it's our board commitment, it needs to be there. Right? It's not just a word, it's commitments. It's a very serious matter, so if we include it here as part of our documents, then it can guide us in your commitment, in your thinking. Because if you're not committed anymore, leave, right?
Right.
Don't run anymore. You have to have some self-reflection. So that's why.
Bill?
I personally don't see a problem with it being in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a kind of a nice summary of some of the points that were in there. I don't think it's,
Okay.
that's my,
John, how you found
I'm
that?
fine with it. You know, that last paragraph, third paragraph, it's kind of weird. Education for world and war is potentially different from makes urgent the need for a board to provide and support plans for set measurable. I don't know, maybe it's just the word urgent is a little funny to me. Because let's face it, we all like things to happen quicker than they do.
Right.
So it just, it doesn't, the
And that's-
word urgent just
yeah.
doesn't work for me. Because it's not based in reality. So I'm fine with it other than
Okay.
that.
But
I
it's
know
been here
that's
for
small.
55
I know.
years.
Exactly,
And
and
that's the
that's
first
why
time
it doesn't
it's
matter
there.
whether it's there or not, probably not.
It makes the reality.
This is on our website.
So kick, yeah, it is. That's where I got it.
Okay, then I like.
They didn't know it either. They're saying behind me, so.
You all read it right before.
See, so that's just, well, I guess I was concerned because we have a whole list, 2 pages of roles and responsibilities for the board of trustees, and I just thought it was just more. But if you think it's okay, but if we
But
go back,
it's what you guys want,
I know.
it's not about me.
but let's go back to the first paragraph, the last sentence. It says citizens, if they are to be effective, are we talking about students? Are we talking about teachers? Are we talking about the entire district? Who's the citizens?
Us.
Well, can we change that word?
This is
How long has this been in the district?
100 years.
Both are man-made.
So we just leave it and then just keep going on, because this is gonna,
I'm sorry.
our time is almost
We
up.
can't be wordsmithing all of this.
No problem.
But
Given the mindset that.
But you know what?
Yeah.
I did read it when it came out first, and so I'm taking the time just to
Okay.
say that as I read it,
Yeah.
and if I was a
No, that's
board
fine.
member, I would go, oh my goodness.
What's the matter?
Keep going,
But
nothing, keep going.
Oh, no.
But can we ask the staff to just, because that's a good point right there on the citizens. Maybe they can go back and say, what's a more appropriate word? And then on the urgent, maybe, I don't know if the staff can think of a word like imperative. It's not urgent, but it's imperative.
Yeah, it's something you can revisit, right? So we can leave it for now and then just
The people,
maybe,
the
yeah, like,
experts, the specialists.
yeah, and give it, you need to get this on the governance calendar to, reflect on anyway. So, okay, let's go to page 6, governance team code of ethics. And so I know there was some reference to staff in there. I took all the reference to staff out, and there was the pebble in the shoe and the trust bucket. I took that out. I thought that was kind of funny language, so,
Okay, now bullet number 2 and bullet number, are they the same?
number 2, not use the organization for own personal advantage or for individual advantage of friends or supporters. And which one was the other one you were considering?
Focus on the mission.
Like non-personal. So if you want to leave that and take out the non-personal goals, that's okay, that makes us like.
So focus on the mission and goals of the district
Period.
and, okay. What do you guys think about it?
I'm sorry, it's just,
No, go ahead, please. We need everyone, everyone
Yeah,
saying
everybody
their
needs to
piece,
say something.
right?
exactly.
John?
I think they're different. I really do, because it's talking about mission and goals. So focus on the mission and goals. If you want to just stop it there,
Yes, that's.
then that's fine.
Okay,
That'd be fine.
is that, it's number 5.
Focus on the mission
1,
and
2,
goals
3,
of the
4,
district.
5.
Stop it at district.
Yes.
Okay. And I think what that was referring to is sometimes people get on boards with agendas and making sure that they're focused on the not your personal goals, but,
This is just a little thing, but on the very last bullet, there has to be an "and" after issues.
as board members, address the what?
How,
Policy.
implementation.
And allow administration to handle the how to. We will.
As board members address the what? Policy issues,
Comma.
allow,
Okay, or a comma.
yeah, okay, comma,
Just, that was just a little thing.
okay,
yeah,
let's
this
do a
is-
comma.
It'll probably just be comma.
Allow the administration to handle the how, the implementation issues, okay.
But where does the why? You know, because.
Well, hopefully our why is reflected in our mission and vision, right?
Yeah, the why, you know, if there's a policy that.
That's our why.
If there's a policy that we're working on, don't we need to understand the why of that policy? Everything starts with the why. Otherwise,
Well, it should reflect in your mission and vision, right? What they're trying to say with this is how, as board members, we need to stay in the what, and we make those decisions, and then we let staff do the how, right? So they do the implementation of what our what is. And so, it's really important, especially when new people, because we're using this as an onboarding tool for new board members, that they understand their role is not to do the how of the district, it's to stay in the what. And that's always a good question. If you're concerned about an issue, like, hey, is this my role? Is it a what or is it a how, right? So I think that's what it's reflecting. If you're not good with that, we could take that out, but I think
I'm just concerned about, I think the why would be the blending of both, the conversation between the administration and the board in terms of, why are we doing this? What? Don't implement it, even though we have the what, but you have to ask us why. We have to.
But I think that goes up to number 5, focus on mission and goals of the district, right? So that's kind of your why. And then the other is the what and the how. If you wanted to add another bullet, we could do that. But, whatever you guys want to do with that.
For example, if we have a policy on dual language immersion,
Right.
right, long time ago, we said, let's do it. But we have to convince everyone, all of us, to be on the same page. So we have to explain why. Why is it important for these kids to be in the dual language immersion program?
Right.
We cannot just say, all right, Dr. Superintendent, do it. Among ourselves, there will be a conflict
Right.
opinion about it.
Right,
I don't-
and hopefully that's going back to your mission and vision. Hopefully that's connected to the mission and vision that you have for the school district, right? So that should be your why, and so when you're talking about dual immersion education, that should go back and connect somehow to that mission and vision. And you can have that discussion about why, right? When you have it on your agenda as an informational item or a discussion item, you're talking about the why, right? But as board members, it's really important that we stay in the what. And I think that that's the reflection of that. And I think that's a really important point for board members to understand, because when I've seen boards get in trouble, they're getting into the how of doing things instead of staying in their role of what. So, I'm kind of putting my opinion in on that one, but
I understand the how and the what. It's just the why, because we don't see the world in black and white, or the what and then implement it. I have to make sure that we convince the professionals
Right.
of what we're thinking, and then they also convince us of what they're thinking, so they can implement it.
So what do you want to do? Did you want to add another bullet, or what does the board want to do with that?
And I just want to make sure, this is concerned, there's no why there, it becomes very mechanical to me. The what, just do it. Why? No, don't ask any question. That's the policy, do it. But is the policy sound?
And hopefully, you're having discussions about your policies, you're reviewing your policies. And that's when you ask the why questions, right?
So can we put that there, as a code of ethics? The what, we address, the board address the what policy issues, but it's the collaboration between the administration and the board to address and clarify the why. Then the how will follow smoothly, naturally. That's how I think. Maybe others don't think that way.
Do you guys want to add another bullet about the why, or, okay? Okay,
I don't think it's necessary.
okay,
We could go over the,
okay.
Why is it not necessary? Give me your rationale.
why is it necessary? We're already, when we go over all these things, that's the time to be asking questions and asking, why are we,
I've
why are we
already
doing
given
all this
I've already
policy?
given my reason.
Okay.
Give yours.
Well, I'm giving my reason, and I just say, that's me. What do you guys say?
I think the why is, like I said, in your mission and vision, and it's also when you're looking at new programs, like, take for example the dual immersion. When you're bringing it on your agenda, you're bringing it first probably as a new program, as an informational item. So that's when you're talking about the why. How is this going to benefit kids in the district? You're talking about, you know what I mean?
I disagree with you on that, but that's okay. We can move on. I think you're not making sense with that one. And
Yes,
I think it's applied. I think the why is asked first, and then say, okay, this is the why. How are we doing it? And
so,
I don't know.
Because you're not going to put policy out there unless there is a reason for
There's
doing
a
it.
why.
Yeah, that's the why. Why are we having this policy?
doing it?
a lot of times we assume we know the why. We don't, but this is a code of ethics that we need to stick on. So the more explicit it is, the better. Because your why for equity may be different from my why. Your why for dual language immersion may be different from my why. Because, but we need to communicate. We need to engage in a conversation. That's what I
What
would.
Mary was trying to say is a lot of our why is in our policies as we're going to vote on. We've changed the crediting from 220 to 180. So, and we went over the why. We had a presentation on the why. We had the principal come in, talk about the why, what programs that was going to affect, and was only elected. So those are the whys, and this will allow some 25, 26 students to be able to indeed then graduate. So within our policies are the why, and that's what Mary was saying, unless I'm mistaken, right? So we do these all the time. Judy is forever updating us on these. And then with the strikeouts, it says what's been taken out, what we've amended. So these really are our whys. That's my thinking.
Okay, well, because different things have different rationale. If you don't want the word why, rationale.
Because it's implied. It's implied. And that's what they're trying to get at. But implied. So I think at this point in time, I'm just,
Okay.
I think it's more than implied. I think it's
It's everything we do as a board member.
within action. That's why I gave the example I did, because it had actionable items as to why. So it's not just implied. We have reasoning and documentations behind it. It's not just something frivolous.
And hopefully your why is your unity of purpose, right?
Yeah.
That's why you implement different programs for the good of the students in your district. So, I mean, to me, that, and here's the deal, this is a living document. If you want to revisit this at any time, definitely can. So, yeah, I saw you look at the clock. All right, let's go to page 7. board meeting agreements and norms. These are just really how we do business, right? The agreements that we, just how we're gonna do our meetings, how we're gonna come to our meetings, how we're gonna treat each other, the respect between the board members.
But number one is the most, be on time, focus, and prepared for our meetings.
Right. And that's our responsibility as board members, right? And we all have to live up to that responsibility, because it makes it hard for staff and everyone else if we come and we're not prepared for our meetings. All right. If everyone's okay with page 7, we'll go to page 8. And what these are the protocols that we talked about. And in your spiral binder, there's a list of other protocols in there. One of the documents has, it's here, Dr. Laws. It's right at the beginning of the papers that I put in front. Yeah, not that one, not this one. I thought I had protocols. This one, I didn't add. Yeah, he didn't, Dr. Laws didn't get a copy of that.
You get on mine.
Okay, Mary, and then
I have this in there.
here you go.
Maybe this is the one.
Oh, yeah, it's right there.
You have it.
Protocols. There it is. So that's just a list of CSBA protocols. Every board doesn't need every protocol. It just depends on, you know, what the challenges the boards are having, right? And it's really important to have these documented. And like I've said over and over, this is an onboarding tool for new board members, so you're proactive, so they don't make mistakes that gets the district in trouble. So if you want to take a few minutes and just look through those protocols and make sure that everything is addressed that you want addressed. I think last time we talked about individual board members asking for information. Yeah, on page 12, we talked a lot about that. Individual board members' requests for information on the bottom. So if you wanted to make sure that I captured everything correctly on page 12.
Terry,
Yes,
while you're on page 12,
yes.
under the self-monitoring of governance team effectiveness, we did update the bylaws over this last year, and we got them all aligned with GAMIC's bylaws.
Okay,
The one that we didn't adopt is 9400, which is board of self-evaluation.
okay,
We haven't gotten to that bylaw yet,
okay.
so I'm wondering if maybe we could just, this is just my recommendation to the board, where we will schedule and participate in at least one workshop every year to review governance team agreements and processes, period. And strike out and to participate in a self-evaluation process, because we're just not quite here,
Okay,
there with that bylaw yet.
okay,
And then leave the other sentence in.
okay.
If the
Is
board-
that good for
if the board agrees to that?
everyone? I mean, that doesn't say that you can't do a board self-evaluation, because I think that's a really good tool that CSBA provides. It's always good to look at ourselves and see what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what we need to maybe add a protocol on. But Judy, I agree, if you don't have that in place, then we really shouldn't put it as an expectation.
Did we skip 8 through 11?
Oh, no, I just
Okay,
jumped to
yeah.
that because we had spent,
I was a little
Yeah,
confused,
we had
like-
spent-
Yes.
we had spent so much time in our workshop on that issue that I wanted to
Okay,
make sure
okay.
that that was captured correctly. But definitely go through page 8 to 12, to actually 13, and then 14 is your signature page.
I just had a question on the bottom of page 9
Okay,
about
Yes,
emailing the emails, and it says forward to the superintendent, which I think is fine, but I thought it was under your okay that we could send it, like if we get something to the person in charge, like facilities, I could send it to, send something to Alan. Is that, I just got confused a little bit when I read that.
That's current practice.
Okay.
And I mean, our staff's comfortable with that.
Okay, and maybe you just CC the.
Right,
Right,
CC,
CC,
but I'll
but go
go
to
ahead and
staff.
say, Alan, I have this question, I got
Okay.
this question, this email on, I think in fact I did it today.
Right, and this is,
But CC, I just want to make sure that
yeah.
it doesn't
And
always
this
have to go to him, so that he
Maybe
has,
to the superintendent or designee.
or
Okay.
designate, yeah.
Okay.
And all of our policy actually have that.
Okay.
That's Judy.
The chief.
CC.
The superintendent or designee.
So that would take us to 13 on the same idea here where it says, okay, on top of page 13, it says, district staff is not expected to respond to direction or requests from individual board members unless directed by the superintendent.
And that's the sentence that goes with
Yeah.
requests for information. And I think it's good practice for you guys to at least CC the superintendent when you're asking for information, just because sometimes, everyone needs different amounts of information, but sometimes it can get really hard for staff to provide all that information. And maybe the superintendent, if a question is asked by a certain board member, then he can disseminate that information to the rest of the board also.
So can we add something there then?
How did you want to word that?
So, district staff is not expected to respond to or direct questions from individual board members unless directed, or how would you say that? Unless previously discussed with the superintendent, I don't know,
Okay.
it needs to go through the superintendent.
So it's like, I think the beginning of the sentence kind of gives a little bit of flexibility. The district staff is not expected
Okay.
to respond. And so I think that gives a little bit of leeway and the flexibility to the board. It's like, Mr. Pollock said, our relationship here is pretty
But
fluid.
it may change.
Right. And then as long as you CC,
Got it.
CC, I think, to the superintendent, and Lisa, what you have down there, can you read the whole thing?
I just said unless-
Sound good.
Unless directed or asked by the superintendent.
So district staff is not expected to
Mhm.
respond to the direction of the request from an individual board member unless,
The superintendent has been previously contacted, or just, however you want to put it.
it's up to the board. I mean, that's,
I know it's up to you all, but,
because ultimately, that means you'll have to do that step first. I mean,
right. Right.
and from you, the FYI.
And it's hard for staff, right? When they get a question from a board member, they want to provide that information.
Well, they
They don't want
We do.
to, you know what I mean? And so,
CC the superintendent.
CC.
Do that, copy, yeah. that's fine.
CC. Yeah, I was checking mine, but I made the request, and I feel so guilty, maybe I did not CC, but I did.
you feel guilty? Hey, check yourself, Dr. Lawless, check yourself.
And I just requested more or something, I said, oh my God, did I? Oh, there it is.
I feel like there's, I don't know, like on page 9, the bottom of page 9, and then the bottom of page 11, and then 13. So we have the one that says, will follow protocols below, emails sent to individual board members. So I'm assuming that it's from somebody, parent or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, they have a question.
Right.
Then, if it's a facilities question or something, then go ahead and forward it to that person like that, or designate, so we have that. But it's saying here in the original text, forward to the superintendent. And then on page 9, if there's a complaint, then it says send it to the appropriate staff member. And so I just think there needs to be clarity in these, and then you have,
Consistency.
yeah, we just need clarity in those
Okay.
three
Areas.
scenarios, I guess.
I think, well, let
Go
me
ahead,
ask,
Dr.
on page 9, when you say complaint to the appropriate staff, even timeline officer, that's also part of the policy as well. When you say a complaint, like uniform complaint, maybe that's what, going back to the clarity piece,
Right.
versus parent having a request on something, maybe question. But that would be very different.
Yeah, I think like you said, Dr. Lynn, the complaint is really a parent complaining about something. It's not a request for like a question or anything like that. It's, something a little bit more serious.
Absolutely, especially
Right.
depending on the type of complaint, falls on the
Right.
uniform, and this process actually have to follow.
Right.
And even when it comes to, for the state and timeline officer, so we can process, there's a timeline.
What page are you referring to?
9.
No, he's on page 9, I'm thinking that maybe what chairs do, when they say complaint on the complaint section, that's going to the appropriate staff. So for clarity purposes,
Oh,
that's
okay.
the intent.
Okay, I was-
And we say
Oh,
for
yeah.
timeline
I was thinking
officer,
at
is
the
that what
bottom.
that means?
Okay, yeah.
Because, I'll give you an example, we had that coronavirus, right? And my community was hit hard. So what I did is I went to the group, and then I also CC'd him every time. And also let Mary know, so that she knows what I'm doing, so that
Right.
I'm following proper
No
protocol.
surprises, right?
No surprises, yes.
Right.
So,
A lot of times we also get like, I guess as president, I get a lot of everybody's
Right.
emails. So I just send them straight to Dr. Lynn because I don't know if somebody's said, hey, I'm gonna send it on to the superintendent or what. So instead of me answering them, I just like send it, or I'll just say, thank you for your email, I send it
Right.
on to the superintendent.
Right.
So that might be, Cherry, a better way to go about that, because that leaves, I think, an individual board member not having to check what kind of email to who, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Because
that
our
gets in
board
the
has been-
weeds, right?
So our board has been pretty consistent. If you get something from a parent, a specific complaint, let alone distinguish that between uniform versus a regular, right? Do I send it to staff and an officer, I send it to Michael, whoever else? They have been very consistent. They get something, they send it to me. And in response, they want to acknowledge that I received it. So it's an email back to the individual, thank you, I received it, forward this to the district office, something like that, or the superintendent, then I will follow up on that. I believe we have been pretty consistent about that. When it comes to me, I will be able to delineate and distinguish where they need to go, different
Okay.
divisions. If it's a uniform complaint, immediately goes to Title IX, CC Glenn, those kinds of things. That's not a practice action, but with the specifics of the different steps to take on the email, that might cause a little bit of.
yes.
Well, I think
Maybe too specific?
what throws me off is on page 9, it says complaint and inquiry reporting. So that's two different things. Complaint, like you said, is
Like,
very
something
specific.
happened, right?
But inquiry, like,
Is a
just,
question.
yeah, like, okay, well, why isn't there a bus, why don't we have bus here, something
Yeah.
like that, then, maybe that's not necessarily
Right, it's not a
a
complaint.
complaint, and so I don't know if,
Is that what you meant, Terry? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, and this was taken from another district, so we can definitely get rid of the bottom half of that, because if you have a protocol that's working for you, then we need to identify that protocol and put that in this book. So,
And I think we would all agree that the way we're doing it.
We're doing it
It's
right now.
working,
Actually, it works.
right?
No.
so let's, if it's okay with you guys, we can strike under complaint and inquiry reporting, kind of get rid of that piece, and then just write what your protocol, what you're doing right now
We'll
is.
summarize it.
Yeah, summarize it. Okay, let's do that. So we're gonna cross out the complaint and inquiry reporting. So going to page 10, did you want to get rid of that piece too? Because it kind of goes with the piece on page 9?
I think as long as we replace it with what we
Okay.
have, I think.
Okay, and I'll get with Dr. Lynn and Judy and get a summary of that protocol, and then we'll include that. Okay. And site visits, how's that going, you guys? have you had any, seems like it is going pretty well? Does that protocol reflect what you're doing now?
Site visits, we get a calendar
Okay.
at the beginning of the year or every couple of months and there's changes.
Mm-hmm.
So then we pick whoever, again, we get to go, to me, it's a privilege to go visit a school. Because
Right.
I want to see what the programs
Let's
are
see
that
what the
are,
kids are doing,
Yeah.
right?
and to me, that's part of me
Right.
being a board member, to know, be up to date on what's going
Mhm.
on. What does the school need?
Right.
What programs, are just like fantastic? Maybe we could take that program to another school. So, we take turns going, or, usually it's Lisa and I, we can go, John will go to school, Bill will go whenever he can. Dr. Lawless works a lot, so whenever,
Right. And I think the
whenever you can go, you go.
The second sentence is really powerful under site/program visitations. It says, "It is our desire to observe and support our programs and courses, not interfere with the operation."
Yes.
And usually when I visit schools, I make sure that Dr. Lee knows about it, and he'll send some staff to be with me.
Yeah, that's what this is implying, that's good.
And I mean, it's hard, even though, all four of my kids were students when I was on the board, and every time I walked into a classroom, once I got elected as a board member, it changed the whole, and so as much as we want to say we're just a individual, it's hard to take off that hat.
You never take off the.
Would it be beneficial to highlight that sentence at all?
Yeah, I had it.
It is our desire to observe and support.
What page is that?
It's page
10.
10.
Yeah, page 10 under site program visitations, and it's the second sentence.
Yes. Should we highlight that?
You can put that in
And
bold.
actually, I would like to highlight paragraph 3, the entire thing, actually.
Yeah.
Site visits are for the purpose of becoming acquainted with school program, personnel, operations, and facilities. And or maybe you can start here. Board members shall not go into teachers' classroom or campuses for the purpose of evaluation or investigation. You could start at the board member and continue on
Right.
the entire sentence, and then board members will not give directions or make suggestions to personnel during their visits.
And that's really important. I mean,
It really is, that's underlining, and we have to really be careful with that.
Yeah.
Each principal has their own evaluator, it's not us.
So that, did you get that, Judy?
I like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I said principal, not teachers.
Okay. And the last sentence, as much as we try when visiting with teachers of their own children, board members will make it clear that they're acting as parents rather than board members. We can try. We can try. Okay, is there anything, so on page 11 in the middle, the orientation of new board members, I think that's really powerful too, especially since a lot of these elections have been so contentious. So the person you ran against or was criticizing the board during their election is the person that you're gonna have to work with in your arranged marriage of being a board member, right? So really having some steps and what that looks like is important to get them on the team and, fulfilling their duties as a board member.
Do we want to lump the last part of page 11 with the email section? It's a little bit different, but there's some similarities. But I think that last
Any concerns and
paragraph.
complaints?
Yes.
Pieces.
Yeah, I think Summer will cover all of them, because that will
Right.
encapsulate all the different
So,
types of
yeah.
emails and communications.
Yeah.
So, Joe, you're eliminating that
So
second.
probably just strike it.
Strike
Because
it.
it's
Just
just-
strike it and
Yeah,
then have it
it doesn't
be,
make any
right,
Okay.
strike it then.
So strike under handling concerns and complaints from the public and staff,
Yeah. well, that-
Yeah,
Okay.
and then
and
have
then
it with,
incorporate it
yeah.
into other,
You know, and then this would be,
Okay.
you would include that.
And something else is out there.
okay? Got it?
Well, looks good.
Anything else, guys? And I think we talked about on the top of page 13, individual board members' requests for action, that we have no power as an individual, right? And we talked about when you're wanting to look at something or look at the why of something, that you bring it to the agenda as an informational item, and then it comes as a discussion, then an action. So that was kind of what we agreed with and talked about in our last workshop.
Would it be beneficial, again, I'm sorry, I don't want to be
No, no,
redundant,
no,
but on the top
please.
of page 12, the highlighted, it says that we need to be knowledgeable on the BP 1320 through 22, to have those attached to the back of this for reference, or is that not appropriate?
No, it's totally appropriate. You can put anything in this governance handbook that you want, and it's a good resource, right? When you're a new board member, what do you look at, right? Like the
Well, yeah,
board
as a
policies.
new board member, you're looking at this, and then you
Yeah.
can say, oh, I could just go
Yeah.
to the back and those policies are right there.
Right.
I mean,
So-
I don't know.
No, no,
if
no.
you guys are-
I mean, that,
Is that
I think
too
that's
much?
a good point.
Could we take a 5-minute break?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so if there's nothing else with the protocols, guys, all I wanted to talk about was how important it is to adopt this at an open board meeting and to have everyone sign it, because this is your working agreement.
And
So,
so you already changed the Selma Unified.
yeah.
Yes, sweetheart.
Tell me it is not Selma, please.
On mine it says Corona Narco, where is
Does
it?
it? No,
Yeah.
mine said.
The other one says Selma.
Mine says Selma.
We got it.
Okay, get Selma out of there.
That's fine.
Corona Narco. All right, guys, so what time is it? 8:30? We did good work though. We got through the governance book, and I'll make the edits with Judy, and then it'll come back to you. And like I said, at an open board meeting, and then you guys can adopt it, and this will be a really good onboarding tool for you guys, and just your working agreement.
Thank you.
So, all we have left is our evaluation. It's in the spiral, it's not pink, it's kind of a gray looking thing. So if you could fill out the evaluation, and because I'm always looking for continuous improvements. All that continuous improvement, right? But it's really been yes, that's it.
So you're the governance team, Terry?
No, you're the governance team.
Well, where's your name go?
My name goes in, or, no, I don't think you even put my name up. Yeah, that's it, Dr. Wells. Just, yeah, you can put my name on there if you want. Yes. Vigil, V-I-G-I-L.
Okay, but we still have the rest of our meeting to go, so these people.
Oh, do you have more?
Yeah, we do have our meeting.
A couple items.
Sorry.
One on consent, one on consent.
It's another hour.
No.
All right. Consent items. Are there any items to be pulled from the agenda? Oh, no. Okay, do we have a motion and a second to approve the consent items?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. 5. You get them, who's counting?
We're applying official amendment.
Why is she sitting back there? I forget she's back there. Okay. Miss Judy now, Chief.
Yeah, so item A, there is a June 9th meeting, and we're proposing that we cancel that study session. I believe management's going to be, it's over the Gettysburg trip, and there were other people that were not going to be able to attend, so it's recommended that the board cancel that June 9th study session.
What day is it? So no study session for the month of June? Is that it?
Correct.
Okay. Do you want any discussion on that? Okay, so we're gonna vote on that? All in favor of not having a study session, motion, sorry, a motion to, get rid of the study session?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Oh, Judy?
So the next one, item B, is the first fiscal meeting, I believe is July 14th. And it's been asked to consider moving the meeting to another day, another Tuesday. I just wanted to let you know, though, that July 21st has already been established as the summer school graduation.
Ooh.
And July 28th and 29th has already been scheduled for our leadership retreat. Correct, Lisa?
Our? No, your leader.
Management's
your-
leadership
so-
retreat.
Could I comment on
Yeah.
that? Because I think I was the one that brought it to the attention at our organizational meeting. I'm taking our president's advice and going on a family cruise. So on the 14th. And so I understand if, that's the only time that works for people, and I would just miss the meeting. But if the calendars are open, I was thinking either the 7th or the 21st. And if everybody was okay with changing.
Well, the 21st we can't.
Well, I know that.
So
at
the
that time.
7th?
So I don't know what people's schedule are on the 7th. Again, if people are already going somewhere, I understand.
4th of July.
Of July. So that's the only other one that works.
Yeah, because the 21st now is out.
So the 21st and the 28th are both
You say
out.
you want to check your calendars for the 7th?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Oh, no life.
You're a board member.
You signed up for this.
July 7th? So do we need a motion?
Well, if she was.
She's checking.
Because I don't want to inconvenience other.
Okay, so I gotta close that.
Dr. Lynn?
Absolutely, yes, sir, 7th, I guess.
And we're gonna be in the parade on July 4th.
Ooh, nice.
Independence Day.
So don't leave. Don't leave them. Okay, so I need a motion. You make the motion.
So, motion to change and give the new date? Or is it two separate motions? So I motion that we consider changing the date from July 14th to July 7th for the first physical meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you guys.
Nice 7th.
And now we can all go on the cruise. All right.
Where are we going?
Caribbean.
Wow.
Yeah, we're all going.
Of course, my son now probably won't be able to go. If he's working, so.
All right, next, Judy.
I'm going to defer to Lisa.
Dr. Simon?
Yes, so we brought back the policy regarding promotion and graduation requirements. And this is specifically for our students, the small group of students we were considering at the alternative ed program at Lee Pollard High School and then also Orange Grove High School. And so there was a discussion, as you recall, at the last board meeting. And one of the suggestions was on page 3 of 5 was to include the part about seniors. So it would read, to obtain a diploma from Corona Norco Alternative or Orange Grove High School's seniors designated by the principal may be eligible to complete at least 180 credits, blah, blah, blah. So that change was made.
Thank you, I like to meet you.
Okay, any discussion?
So I move.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Is that it for you guys? Yes? Okay. All right, so, closing ceremonies, who's gonna sing? It's a
No goes, not me. I'm not singing.
All right, I need a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor? Yay, meeting adjourned.
All right, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.